What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through the ultimate guide to the upcoming Game Week 28. So Game Week 28, just before blank Game Week 29, in this ultimate guide, I'll be doing a refresher of the chip strategy, as that seems like that's the talk of the town at the moment. I'll also be going over the usual ultimate guide topics, such as the clean sheet odds and projected goals, before looking at Mateta plus Cunha replacements. The final talking point, probably the main topic of Game Week 28, it's Mo Salah vs Cole Palmer. Who's the best Captaincy option to actually go for? So a ton to get through, so let's get straight into it. Sit back, relax, and hopefully you guys enjoy. So the first talking point, as usual, will be going over the clean sheet odds. Now these come from the kind of projected clean sheets, as well as the overall odds. So let's bring up every fixture, and we have the color coding from FPL. Just a reminder, it's green to grey to pink to maroon, with about 5 teams per category. So some great matchups this week. You guys can see Liverpool at the top there with 47%, and they follow closely by Chelsea on 44, plus Crystal Palace on 42. So kind of no surprise there why they are going to be the top teams. The newly promoted sides haven't done that well. So if you guys own any defenders from these squads, definite chance of defensive returns. We also do have some good matchups. Arsenal vs United. I have the double up Raya plus Gabriel. Pretty happy to see this high percentage. And then quite a bit of a drop off for Wolves at 30% against Everton. Now as always, we do have these kind of great matchups. For defensive returns, Wolves vs Everton doesn't look that bad. Whereas Spurs vs Bournemouth, neither team projected to keep a clean sheet. Same could be said about Brentford plus Aston Villa, so some very high scoring matchups for Game Week 28. So maybe you don't expect too many clean sheets out of those fixtures. Now as always, you got the newly promoted squads in the maroon. We've got 2% for Southampton, yes 2%. The odds are definitely not favouring them. Understandable though, against that pretty strong Liverpool team. If you kind of use the inverted, you can see that Liverpool have the edge slightly over Chelsea, 2% versus 5%. So you guys can use this for your benching dilemmas, those are your transfer plans. Absolutely love going over these projected clean sheets and goals. Let's go over the more attacking combinations. So once again, bring up every fixture, same color combination. However, there are some teams that have switched around. You can see that Spurs vs Bournemouth, now both teams in the green. So pretty happy to see that. As a Semenyo owner, I'm expecting a ton of goals hopefully. So let's see how many returns those Bournemouth midfielders get. Once again, we don't have many goals for Wolves Everton. That might be quite a close clash. But the biggest thing is Liverpool at 3.55 versus Chelsea at 2.9. So once again, just kind of basing those, you guys can get an immediate indication that Salah might be favoured. I think his goal share with Cole Palmer is pretty similar between the two teams. We'll touch on that kind of debate later on, go a little bit more in depth, but at the moment, advantage Salah and Liverpool. Other high scoring games should hopefully be Crystal Palace. We'll speak a little bit later on about Mateta and that pretty bad injury, but as an Eze and Munoz owner, I'm hoping for a few attacking returns. Also want to shout out Man City here because at 1.85 they're quite close to the top, and they're surrounded by Brentford and then Spurs and Bournemouth. The low scoring teams as expected, the newly promoted squads plus United. Unfortunately, they're not in the best form. Other teams in and around there in this kind of grey plus maroon pink fixtures. Once again, you guys can use this if you are considering benching an option, and it is quite close between the two players. Biggest takeaways though is going to be those Liverpool vs Chelsea stats. As mentioned, advantage Salah at the moment. You guys can pause this right now if you want to, but now let's go over to some more in-depth talking points. I'll definitely be coming back to these numbers as the deadline gets closer though. So the next talking point, and pretty much the main topic of this video, is going to be the chip strategy update. And I'm going to give you guys a massive spoiler alert. It's just basically be patient. There's literally been no confirmation. All chip strategies at the moment are prediction based, and therefore no one has really locked in their chips at the moment. Now the only thing that you guys should be focusing on is going to be blank Game Week 29, as that has been confirmed, and that's because of the EFL Cup final taking place. So the two fixtures that have been postponed for that are going to be Aston Villa vs Liverpool, as well as Newcastle vs Crystal Palace. So quite a small blank game week, but might be quite a hectic one. Most of us do own these Liverpool assets plus Newcastle and maybe Crystal Palace options, and you would have seen that in my transfer plan I discussed on Monday. So what you guys have to decide at the moment is, are you going to free it in blank game week 29, Or like myself, are you guys going to use free transfers to try and get a full starting 11? I do think this game week doesn't have the highest upside, and therefore if you guys can save the free hit, I probably would. It will just allow you to be a bit more flexible with those uncertain doubles and blanks coming up. So once again, the only thing that you guys have to focus on is going to be blank game week 29, which is going to be the next game week, and whether you guys want to free it or not, and that'll be very team dependent. Now the next confirmed double is actually going to be double game week 32. We went over this in the previous ultimate guide, but also a very small double game week. So just to repeat, it's going to be Crystal Palace plus Newcastle. That game has now been moved to double game week 32, so only 2 teams double in that respective game week. Now this could have quite a lot of implications. As you guys will know, they blank in 29 but now double in 32. So if you guys don't have a wild card, you might want to just keep them or bench them for the blank game week. Might be an advantage to actually using the free hit in 29 to avoid kind of benching them or taking them out, and that's a perfectly viable strategy. Now what I also want to talk about in terms of double game week 32 is it might actually be a bench boost week with all the uncertainty about what future doubles are going to happen. So those doubles I'm referring to are potentially 33, potentially 36 or 35. I've just added 35 at the end there because at the moment it looks like 33 and 36 might be the bigger doubles, but fixtures could also move to 35, which might be a span in the works. Now these double game weeks will be as a result of the FA Cup results, and those are going to happen in game week 34 and 37. So those blank game weeks are actually confirmed, although the fixtures aren't. We just know that those are the weekends or the game weeks where the FA Cup games are going to take place. So those fixtures haven't been confirmed yet, but those blanks will take place. They might be slightly smaller though, but I'll talk about that shortly. So once again, you guys just have to focus on blank game week 29 at the moment. Otherwise, you guys can chill out, take a breather. There's just too much unpredictability at the moment with the fixtures. My current idea of what I'm going to do is probably wildcard around game week 31, and the bench boost and the free hit are going to happen later on, and I don't know when they're going to take place. So let's wait and see what happens in these next kind of FA Cup round games, and then we'll get a clearer picture of the fixture schedule. Now before we go over the actual game week 28 talking points, I just want to touch briefly on kind of blank game week 34, as we have had some confirmed fixtures taking place. So the 4 fixtures are going to be Newcastle, Ipswich, Wolves, Leicester, Chelsea, Everton, and finally Liverpool vs Spurs. Now this is due to the fact that all these teams are out of the FA Cup, so these games can go ahead, and there will be some added fixtures to this depending on what happens in the FA Cup next round. The only problem is the draw has been pretty hard to call, so there might be some projections, but anything can happen in these cup competitions. So if you guys are doing some very future planning, for example, if you don't have a wild card, you guys can take note of these teams and maybe kind of go for them. But as mentioned, don't exactly know who's going to double in 33, 36 or 35, so I'd probably keep planning to a minimum. Now the next talking point is an unfortunate one. It's going to be about the replacement for forwards. And the first player to talk about is going to be Mateta. So if you guys didn't see the very bad tackle that happened in the FA Cup, Mateta might be out for a number of weeks. Now it seems like it was an ear injury that required stitches and also a head injury, but the extent of it hasn't really been disclosed. The only thing we got from Glasner was the fact that he hoped that Mateta was back for the next FA Cup round, which was going to be about 4 weeks from the weekend. Now he could be back earlier than that. I'll just wait for the press conference if you guys do have Mateta, as if he is back sooner than expected, he might actually be fine for Southampton. So if your bench is okay with benching him for blank game week 29, you could just do that, but it seems like you'll be missing the Ipswich game. Now the next player to talk about is going to be Cunha. He was red carded once again in the FA Cup, and therefore it's probably going to miss a number of weeks. That exact number hasn't been confirmed yet, it's under review, but safe to assume he's going to be missing blank game week 29 and probably game week 30 or 31. So Cunha probably a sell, might not be the highest priority if you can just bench him, but since he's missing blank game week 29, I probably think most people will sell him, and that brings us to our replacements for these 2 options. And the number 1 replacement, if you guys have the funds, is going to be Erling Haaland, but probably hard to recommend a player that's so much more expensive. So closer to home is probably someone like a Visa or a Chris Wood. I might consider Evan Nielsen, but I'm just worried about his minutes after the injury. Now you could also go for a Strand Larsen if you want a direct replacement for Cunha from Wolves, but I think Visa Wood might be slightly more reliable. I guess you could also go for Beto from Everton if you want to go for a cheaper option, but the forward options at the moment aren't that great. Let me know if you guys own these assets. Do any of you actually own both of them? That's quite unlucky. Who are your replacements currently? I was personally looking to go for Cunha for that blank Game Week 29 fixture. So yes, I might actually have to buy Chris Wood next week. Let's wait for those press conferences though to get the update on Mateta. He might be back sooner than expected, but probably going to miss the Ipswich game. Now the final talking point to go over is going to be all about the Captaincy debate. This is round 2 from last week. So as you guys know, Salah outperformed Palmer by 3 points, pretty close, but a lot of stress was caused from Game Week 27. So let's go over Salah, who has Southampton at home, versus Palmer, who has Leicester at home. 2 great fixtures on the cards. Now the thing that comes into account is going to be the European football. Liverpool do travel to PSG on Wednesday, and then Palmer I think has Copenhagen on Thursday away. So both these two players have European football away from home. Now it's interesting for me that Salah has been spoken so much about with this European football, but no one's mentioning that Cole Palmer might also feature for Chelsea. He didn't feature in the kind of previous rounds, but I think for the knockouts he has been included. So if Cole Palmer plays a full 90 minutes, he's also a risk of kind of rotation. I do think both players will start though, just depends on how many minutes. If they were to get equal minutes, you definitely would favour Salah in this fixture though. I guess where the debate might come in is if Salah gets 60 and Cole Palmer gets 90, then it's pretty close, probably would side with Palmer. At the moment though, most people will be on Mo Salah, especially after Cole Palmer's blank last week. But if you guys do want to go differential once again, the Chelsea man might not be the worst option. Besides these two, there's quite a big drop off in projected points, so I think your only 2 options are on screen right now. Saying that though, obviously please wait for Wednesday and Thursday's games to conclude. If the European games are anything like the FA Cup games, cue absolute mayhem. I do think I'll probably be on Salah though as the majority of managers. Let me know if you guys are going for Palmer or anyone else in the comments down below. But this will be the last talking point. As always, any other talking points, comment them down below on my Discord server. Slightly more active there, link in the description. This is basically our video guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you didn't subscribe if you have subscribed yet. Team selection coming up shortly, so make sure those notifications are turned on. But for the time being, I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.